Snow in Hawaii? Yes, and it's more common than you think. 8 to 10.
Have you ever wondered where the future is rushing off to as time keeps speeding up every day? From New Year's Eve on December 31, 2025, right through to January 7, 2026, the world has seen one unbelievable sight after another. Tropical snow blanketing Hawaii, lava erupting from Etna on its snowy peak, California's sky glowing deep red, a holy figure appearing among the clouds, massive storms rolling in, fire whirls roaring across the land, objects from space crashing down, strange lights moving invisibly, purple comet balls burning bright, and towering waterspouts out at sea, ringing like giant bells. This isn't just coincidence. God is calling out loudly for humanity to wake up before Judgment Day. So, before we dive deeper into uncovering the hidden truth behind these 10 mysterious events, let's leave a simple prayer for peace in this world as we face a year full of changes. Amen. And now, so you don't have to wait any longer, I'll get started right away with 1. Snowstorm hits Hawaii. It started right on January 1, 2026, with snow covering the top of Mauna Kea in Hawaii, a tropical place that suddenly turned into a frozen world overnight. That's when we realized nature can change everything in just one night. Up at 13,803 feet on the Big Island, a thick layer of ice appeared out of nowhere, like a huge secret coming to light. Nobody expected the land of sun and beaches to be buried in quiet white snow. Those first pictures hit you with a confusing, breathless feeling, and you feel part of the story just looking at the screen. On January 4, 2026, according to Fox Weather, a Kona low system moved into the islands, bringing up to 10 inches of snow on the high peaks, strong howling winds, and unusually freezing temperatures. Roads on Mauna Kea were covered in white. Visitors were shivering, cars were sliding on glassy ice, and the scene was quiet, but full of danger. Weather experts looked at it and said this rare event is getting stronger than in 2025, with the Mauna Kea Weather Center reporting snow up to 50% thicker. They pointed to global climate changes as the cause, but the explanations still leave a lot of unanswered questions ahead. Then, in the middle of all that worry, Revelation 16:21 from the Bible comes to mind as a haunting reminder. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. Those old words flash like lightning, making you think about changes we can't control. From Joel 2:33:1, another prophecy rings out. And I will shew wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood, before the great and the terrible day of the Lord come. The image of snow falling in Hawaii in 2026 suddenly takes on a meaning beyond normal science. Luke 21:11 comes next, like the final piece in the report. And great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines, and pestilences, and fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven. It makes you feel colder, realizing that message isn't far off at all. We're seeing something small, but shaking our whole view of the world. This isn't just snow, not just ice. It's a sign, quietly knocking on the door of the future. It's the Lord's warning about extreme climate changes, the signs of the end times, freezing people's souls, and we can't turn away from what's happening. Behind that white snow, there seems to be more left unsaid, but farther away, on Italy's Mount Etna, fire and snow are mixing together. Another terrifying contrast waiting for you in the next part. 2. A strange sight on snowy Mount Etna. On the night of January 1, 2026, lava from Etna poured out over the white snow. Hellfire met heavenly ice, and the scene hit us right away like a giant puzzle. On the slopes of Sicily's mountain that stands 10,922 feet high, bright red streaks crawled slowly through the cold, silent snow, making a picture so confusing that folks couldn't believe their eyes. From a crack in the Val del Bove At around 2,000 meters up, as reported by Goetna, a steady lava flow burst out and started spilling over the icy surface. Like the earth was opening a wound on New Year's night. It gives you chills seeing that sharp contrast right there on your screen. The lava rushed fast, the snow melted with a hiss, steam rose thick, explosions boomed, the whole area hot and chaotic, while down below it was icy, quiet and still. Drones from Fox Weather caught every moment, showing red fire rolling in and slowly swallowing the white, like two worlds yelling to claim the space. This upside-down nature scene leaves people unsettled, worried, with a feeling of breaking apart spreading in their minds. In one spot, destructive heat flares up. In another, cold ice hangs on stubbornly, creating a puzzle no simple explanation can ease. Revelation 8-7 from the Bible rings out like the first key to it. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down on the earth. A third of the earth was burned up, a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. Those old words seem to mirror straight into the burning Etna images, making viewers suddenly realize this site was talked about long ago. But scientists come in with a practical view. They explain the volcano activity as just geological rules, pressure releasing from magma built up over months, and they warn that lava on snow could cause landslides, steam explosions, and risks to nearby areas. Two different views sit side by side, one mystical with prophecy, the other cool with facts and laws. Revelation 8-8 adds another piece. The second angel sounded his trumpet, and something like a huge mountain, all ablaze, was thrown into the sea. A third of the sea turned into blood. That blazing mountain picture matches exactly what you just saw on Etna, and the connection hits even stronger in the reader's mind. Matthew 24-29 comes up too, full of warning. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Could this fire and ice scene be just one of many signs pointing to something bigger? We look back at the video and wonder what to believe: science or faith, experts' explanations or messages from holy pages. What do you think about what you just saw? Is it just nature, or does it mean something deeper? Whatever the answer, Etna is still roaring, snow is still melting, and humanity's future seems to be heating up like the ice under that lava flow. God is mixing fire and ice to remind us of human sin, a sign that hell is about to spread, and we don't have much time left to ignore it. From far off Italy, the story shoots over to California, where a bright sky red as blood is waiting in the next part, like a mysterious door just cracking open. 3. The sky was bright but blood red over California. The morning of January 3, 2026, kicked off in Northern California with a breathtaking sight like nothing before. The sun came up as usual, light poured over the neighborhoods, but the whole sky was covered in a deep red, as if some invisible hand had smeared blood across it. Folks woke up confused. The streets were unusually quiet, cars were scarce, and window glass reflected that heart-stopping glow. Many scientists say the lingering smoke from wildfires that smoldered through late 2025 mixed with a rare atmospheric event early in the new year. They pointed to reports from observatories and data from Astronomy magazine, explaining how fine dust and water vapor low in the air can scatter light and create that intense red color. Climate experts reassured everyone it was just a natural reaction after a string of extreme weather days. But even with those calming words, people's fears didn't ease much, because seeing the sky look like it was quietly burning is hard to shake off. One eyewitness on Fox Weather described how everything around him seemed stained, blood red. The park, the parking lot, even the distant trees. Lots of people filmed it on their phones and shared it online, along with all kinds of questions. Some said they wouldn't let their kids go outside because they didn't know what was happening. In those moments, it really hit home how small we are compared to forces beyond our control. The Bible talks about signs in the sky in strong terms. In the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 31, it says, "The sun will turn dark, and the moon will turn blood red before that great and terrible day of the Lord arrives." Those ancient words echo like a distant bell in modern times, making many folks suddenly connect it to the scene right in front of them. In Revelation, chapter 6, verse 12, it says, When the Lamb broke the sixth seal, there was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth, and the moon turned blood red. Those verses aren't meant to comfort, but to wake people up, reminding us that certain moments in history are set to warn humanity about going down the wrong path. Astronomers kept sharing their view, saying the Quadrantids meteor shower early in 2026 might have added to the mysterious feel of the sky. Science sees patterns, while faith sees messages. When you put the two side by side, it forces you to think deeper. Is this just smoke and light? Or is there something more beyond what we can measure? Under that fiery red sky, everyone wondered to themselves about what might be coming. What do you think when faced with the clash between human explanations and divine warnings? 2026 has just started, but California's sky already feels like the opening page of a book whose ending nobody knows, leaving a sense that, behind that terrifying red, more things are still waiting to unfold. 4. The figure of the Lord with arms outstretched in the sky. On the morning of January 2, 2026, a video spread like wildfire from California and really touched folks online. In the footage shot by a local resident, the early sky looked downright unusual. Among the fluffy clouds drifting gently, there was the clear outline of the Lord, faint but unmistakable, with his arms spread wide, gazing down at the world. It wasn't just some shape made by the clouds. It was a mysterious figure hidden behind a veil of white. Even a quick glance made you feel the holiness filling the air. The California sky that day was clear and cool, with the New Year's sunlight still soft and pale. But right in the middle of that peaceful expanse appeared something beyond normal explanation. The image of the Lord with open arms showed up quietly, surrounded by a hazy glow that seemed lit from another realm. Layers of clouds passed over his face as if trying to hide it, then drifted apart to reveal it more clearly. The sacred feeling coming from that scene made anyone watching pause for a long while. The contrast between the world down here and the sky up there only added to the puzzling tension. While parts of the earth are dealing with disasters and unrest, up above appeared a symbol of mercy. That warm halo, embracing the faint figure, felt like an open door in the winter sky. No sound, no dramatic movement, just a silent but powerful presence. The video was taken with a simple phone, yet its spiritual impact goes way beyond any fancy gear. The Bible has mentioned moments like this many times in a serious tone. In the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 30, it says, "Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." The image captured on January 2, 2026, seems to echo that passage closely, making viewers think deeply about the meaning of signs from above. Then in the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 13, the prophecy says again, "In my vision at night, I looked, and there before me was one like a son of man, coming with the clouds of heaven." Those ancient words suddenly feel alive next to this hazy moment in today's sky. The matching imagery gives the sense that sacred history is still unfolding. Weather and astronomy experts later spoke up with explanations about light scattering and rare cloud patterns. They said high humidity mixed with the sun's angle could create visual illusions. Those ideas were shared to ease public worries. But no matter how many scientific theories come out, the glow around the Lord's figure in the video still has an undeniable majesty. The perspective from faith offers a completely different view than weather forecasts. In the book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 7, the Bible says, "Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him." That warning shines through any reassuring words. The event in California's sky is seen as a reminder for people to reflect on their own souls. From that mysterious moment, stories of unusual signs keep spreading. And right after the holy figure with arms outstretched among the white clouds, another paradox is looming far away, where a massive storm over the ocean starts roaring, as if signaling the next chapter in human history. 5. The big storm at the start of 2026. Are we really ready for what's coming? When time seems to be rushing by so fast and the future feels more uncertain every day? From January 5 to 7 inches 2026, a huge early year storm suddenly formed out in the Pacific Ocean and swept right into the Pacific Northwest part of the United States. The eye of the storm was massive, swirling fiercely, pulling in the ocean with its violent spin and pushing cold, wet air onto the land. Winds gusted hard, rain poured down endlessly, and snow piled up 12 to 36 inches deep in many Midwestern states, making for a dark and overwhelming start to the year. Just following the news updates one after another was enough to make you feel that nature is getting more unpredictable than ever. That storm wasn't just some ordinary low-pressure system. Meteorologists described it as an extreme weather complex stretching across the whole country, bringing wave after wave of destruction from the south all the way to the Great Lakes area. Early reports noted winds as strong as force 12 on the Beaufort scale, with gusts in places over 70 miles an hour, strong enough to snap trees and shake tall buildings. Waves offshore rose to 20 feet, and heavy rain caused serious flooding in many coastal cities. Forecast maps were updated constantly, with the storm's path calculated hour by hour. But even the best modern models could only give cautious guesses. National weather officials and sites like weather.com warned folks to get ready for a very unusual cross-country weather event. They said the moist circulation mixing with cold air from Canada could lead to heavier snow than in recent years, especially in the Midwest and mountain states. Many experts worried about widespread power outages, roads shutting down, and landslides in areas with ongoing rain. TV announcers kept repeating advice to avoid unnecessary travel. Even though they aimed to calm people, each update sounded like an alarm bell, showing just how vulnerable we are to the furious power from the sky. The Bible came to mind during those stormy days, like a stern voice echoing from the past. In the book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 25, it says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." Those words felt haunting when you saw pictures of towering waves and muddy floods rushing through streets. Then in Matthew, chapter 24, verse 7, it reminds us, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." Warnings about big upheavals suddenly seemed so real amid the chaos of today's world. Theologians saw the early 2026 storm as a wake-up call, while scientists viewed it as a result of increasingly extreme climate. Those two opposing views sat side by side, leaving anyone watching to wonder about the true meaning hidden behind it all. No matter how you look at it, one thing was clear: nature is roaring louder, time is pressing harder, and we need to take a good look at ourselves sooner rather than later. But just as the storm was starting to die down, something else began to stir. Out in the far west of the country, swirling columns of fire suddenly erupted across the desert, opening up a next chapter that was even more frightening. As if the sky had barely closed when the ground started rumbling again. 6. The strange fire whirl. Where in the world are we headed when just in the first few days of 2026, nature keeps throwing out scenes straight out of a bad dream? On the afternoon of January 6th, a video shot in the Southern California desert left folks chilled to the bone. Not in some busy city street, but out on that dry, dusty land with sand and hot wind, a huge column of fire suddenly formed and started twisting up into the sky like something alive and angry. The flames burned fierce, tossing dirt and rocks around, sucking everything into its wild spin, making it feel like destruction was bursting right up from the ground. Watching that footage, it's hard not to feel uneasy about what the future holds. The desert is usually a quiet, harsh place, but that day it turned into a scene of pure chaos. Against a pale yellow sky, the fire whirl stood tall, hundreds of feet high, spinning like a giant torch out in the wide open sand. Dust got flung everywhere, thick black smoke poured up, mixing with that bright red glow and making the air feel heavy and hard to breathe. Hot winds howled over the dunes, pushing the fire column along slowly but in a threatening way, like it had a mind of its own. The intense heat made the ground seem to boil, and the sky looked torn apart by that eerie light. In the video, you can really see the scary contrast between the dead dry desert and the raging power of the fire. As soon as the video spread, social media blew up with all kinds of talk. Some people said a fire tornado is just an extreme weather event that happens when a fire meets strong winds and big updrafts. They tried to explain it with science, pointing to pictures from past wildfires. A lot of voices said the whole thing was being blown way out of proportion and had nothing to do with anything spiritual. But others pushed back hard, not buying those explanations and asking, Why would a clear, scary fire column like that form in a place that's pretty much just sand and rocks? With those two sides going at it, where do you stand? It all comes down to guesses from folks online and unnamed weather models. People passed around weather maps, figuring the winds out in the desert might have hit something like EF2 strength, enough to lift the fire column over 300 feet and keep it going for minutes. They talked about the risk of heat waves spreading and how small towns near the desert could be in danger. But it was all just questions hanging in the air. And right in that gap of real information, another clear question came up. What's your take on this frightening thing spinning away? Then the Bible comes in like a final judgment, shining right on those burning images. In the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 30, it says, "I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billows of smoke." That fire whirl in the California desert seems to match those old words exactly. Over in Luke, chapter 21, verse 25, it goes on the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." Those words hit like an accusation, making us think about our own lives. And in Revelation chapter 8, verse 5, "Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it on the earth." Even though it happened in a remote, empty area, this fire whirl at the start of 2026 leaves a chilling feeling about what lies ahead for all of us. From the view of someone watching the video, it's a real wake-up call about how fast the world is changing. From a faith perspective, it's a serious warning for anyone who's still not paying attention. But just as that fire column died out in the desert, the sky above started getting white objects falling down from space, opening up a new mystery waiting in the next part of the story. 7. Strange object from space in California. On January 4, 2026, a strange noise suddenly filled the sky over Northern California. In a video taken by locals, you hear a deep rumbling sound that goes on for a while, like it's coming from far away, spreading through the quiet air. There was no warning, just that low, muffled noise that left people puzzled. The footage shakes a bit from the phone recording, but the sky up above stays clear and calm in a way that's almost too perfect. Then, all of a sudden, a bright white object shot across the clouds. The camera caught a long streak of light, glowing like a torch. In just a few seconds, it broke apart in the air into several small glowing circles. These orbs hung there steadily, moving slowly instead of dropping fast. The whole scene looked magical, nothing like the usual shooting stars we've seen before. That eerie feeling made folks online start asking all kinds of questions. The Bible, in Luke chapter 21, verse 11, says, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven." People kept quoting that old verse in the comments as the video spread on social media. Many thought those glowing orbs were exactly what had been predicted long ago. To them, it felt like a sign, a message you couldn't see with your eyes alone, but only understand through faith. The video goes on to show the lights slowly drifting apart, forming a strange pattern against the night sky. No flames, no pieces falling to the ground, just those steady glows, almost like they were watching us back. A mysterious vibe hung over the whole clip. Viewers started wondering if this was really just space junk or something beyond normal understanding. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 29, the Bible also says, "The sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken." Plenty of online accounts use that verse to explain the moment the object burst into orbs. They believed it wasn't random, but part of a chain of signs showing up more and more across America. From a religious view, every frame of the video seemed like proof of troubled times ahead. But not everyone online agreed. As the video got shared millions of times, opposing opinions exploded. Some called it airplane lights. Others said the rumbling was just static or noise. A few skeptical accounts mocked the Bible-related comments. The debate raged across forums, with each side giving their reasons. That event in the California sky ended up sparking arguments like never before. Revelation chapter 6, verse 13 says, "And the stars in the sky fell to earth, as figs drop from a fig tree when shaken by a strong wind." Many believers thought that perfectly described the orbs staying steady after the burst. They saw it as a reminder that the world is getting closer to bigger changes. For people of faith, each strange sign feels like a new chapter opening in these chaotic times. Toward the end of the video, the camera catches a faint glow streaking across the sky, quick and almost invisible. It made no sound, just appeared for a moment and vanished. The clip ends there, leaving viewers with even more doubt. Was there still something hiding behind those lights from January 4? Those unseen mysteries might just be starting to show up in America's skies. 8. A strange object that seemed to cloak itself. The new year had just started, and the skies over Palm Springs, California, sparked another curious and mysterious story. On the morning of January 1, 2026, against the clear blue desert sky, a YouTube video suddenly caught the attention of thousands of people. The footage showed a white object appearing faintly, sometimes clear, sometimes blurry, like it was fading in and out right in front of the camera. No wings, no trail of fire, just a hard-to-grasp shape that made viewers pause and stare for a long time. The object moved slowly across the wide open sky, then suddenly almost vanished completely. The camera tried to follow it, but only captured a few hazy moments. On Reddit forums, the video was shared with comments calling it a strange cloaking phenomenon. Many users described feeling uneasy watching that dim light drift silently, as if it didn't follow any normal rules. Its appearing and disappearing created a heavy atmosphere, especially in the quiet setting of Palm Springs. In those confusing frames, we're left wondering what's really going on. The online community's reaction showed a mix of fear and curiosity. Comments poured in thick and fast, from wild guesses to colorful theories. Some thought it was an optical illusion from the desert heat, while others believed the camera had caught a military test device. But it all remained just speculation, and the mystery still hung in the clear blue sky. Soon after, scientists and physics experts spoke up with explanations. They said the images in the video could be from light refraction or a regular drone reflecting light at a particular angle. Aerospace researchers analyzed it, saying the slow, blurry movement matched how digital lenses handle distant bright spots. To them, it wasn't anything supernatural, just a visual mix-up combined with the limits of modern recording technology. The Bible came up in the comments in different ways. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, verse 4, it says, "As I looked, behold, a stormy wind came out of the north, and a great cloud with fire flashing continually, and around it a bright light, and in its midst something like gleaming metal." 2. End quote. Those words made quite a few people wonder if the Bible is hinting at something about these cloaking-like images in the California sky. Could those ancient pages be quietly pointing to a deeper meaning that people today haven't fully understood yet? The video kept getting watched over and over, millions of times, while the debates grew hotter. In 2 Kings, chapter 2, verse 11, it also says, "And as they still went on and talked, behold, chariots of fire and horses of fire separated the two of them, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven." Many folks wondered if those odd images in the blue sky were reminding us of the mystical descriptions recorded thousands of years ago. The Bible's presence in this story became a gentle nudge, a bigger question mark in these unsettled times. We can't ignore that strange, hard-to-explain things keep showing up in America's skies. Even though science offers plenty of viewpoints, that uneasy feeling in viewers' hearts lingers. And then the recording ends with the moment the white object slowly fades into the air again, leaving a new question. If from cloaking to blazing fire, a purple comet sphere rushed close to the ground, what would come next? Whatever's happening above Palm Springs might just be the opening to even bigger signs hiding somewhere in the California skies. 9. A fireball like a comet. Against the pitch-black winter sky, a bright purple glow appeared slowly at first, then suddenly streaked down, leaving a long tail behind it, like a giant brushstroke across the heavens. There was no explosion, no wild motion, just swirling light hanging in the air that made you feel like the familiar world had just been touched by something else. We looked up at the sky that night not out of simple curiosity anymore, but with a quiet worry about what was coming closer. Astronomers linked this sighting to the Quadrantids meteor shower, which peaked from January 3 to 4. According to science sources, at its height, you could see up to 120 meteors per hour, and brighter fireballs often show up among them. Still, what people saw that night was nothing like the usual small streaks. It wasn't just a quick flash of light. We saw a big ball of fire flying low over neighborhoods, steady and clear in a way that's hard to believe. The event was captured in many videos filmed by folks at home, and they spread quickly online. In the clips, you can see the fireball moving really low, its strong light making the ground bright as daylight. That purple tail stretched for dozens of miles, twisting gently behind like it was guided somehow. We watched streams of sparkling smoke trail out, beautiful enough to take your breath away, and scary enough to give you chills. In that moment, you couldn't help wondering, what's really happening above us? In the mix of feelings it stirred up, the whole thing felt like a wave of awe and unease all at once. You saw the light, the speed, the size, everything so real and plain. We heard the reports about meteor rates and the quadrantid's peak times, but then faced something that didn't fit the usual pattern. That uncertainty made you pause, and it reminded us all how small we are in the face of the universe. Right after those shocking images, the Bible came to mind as a sacred explanation. In Revelation chapter 8, verse 10, it says, "The third angel blew his trumpet, and a great star fell from heaven, blazing like a torch. And it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water." Joel chapter 2, verse 30 says, "And I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and columns of smoke." And Acts chapter 2, verse 19 repeats, "And I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and vapor of smoke." When those words come up, it feels like the sights in the sky are lit by ancient light. These fireballs aren't just lifeless rocks. They're signs urging us to wake up. You might view the event through science, and we can look at it through faith, but that purple fire streaking close to the ground is still there, vivid and unforgettable. From that bright moment, you're led to a new door of mystery, where out over the ocean, a purple lightning tornado is waiting ahead, promising an even stronger journey of understanding for us. 10. The strange water spout out at sea. The scene out on the open water on the morning of January 7th, 2026, suddenly turned scary in a way that's hard to believe. Over the vast surface near Lake Houston, a huge spinning column of water formed real fast, standing straight up toward the sky like a giant smoke tower. It makes you wonder if nature is really getting that angry, with those purple lightning bolts striking over and over around the eye of the whirl. Videos taken by folks out on boats show the sky going dark right in the middle of the day. Winds from the ocean blew hard with force, about like a Category 12, pulling the black clouds together in thick layers. Waves nearly 20 feet high crashed against the breakwaters, while the waterspout reached up hundreds of feet, carrying that muddy brown color from dust and moisture sucked up from the sea. In the middle of all that chaos, purple flashes kept flickering like tears in the sky. Many marine navigation devices lost signal for a moment, and small boats had to turn back to find shelter. The seawater got pulled up in a fierce spin, creating a vacuum area right under the clouds, making it clear that some invisible power was taking over everything. The Bible steps in as a way to explain what's happening right in front of us. In Luke chapter 21, verse 25, it says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." Those old words seem to be showing up in our modern times like a serious mirror reflection. Following that chain of events, the book of Exodus comes up too, like a final judgment. Exodus chapter 14, verse 21 records, "Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided." The picture of a big wind parting the ocean back then now reminds us of this swirling water column, like a repeat of that ancient message. Not stopping there, the book of Revelation comes in strong, like a final charge against mankind. Revelation chapter 16, verse 21 says, "And great hail from heaven fell upon men, each hailstone about the weight of a talent. Men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail." Those words echo amid the roaring sea, like an unavoidable period at the end. From unusual snowfall, to swirling fire rings, then to purple glowing balls sweeping through winter nights, it's all built a big picture of a shaky start to the year. We've seen storms, fires, strange lights, and hard-to-explain shapes, one after another. Each one looks different, but they meet at one thought-provoking point. The final message gets clearer than ever. This offshore waterspout isn't just some weather event. It stands at the end of the chain like a warning bell about something big waiting ahead. We've gone through the 9 signs before it, and now with this 10th one, sky and ocean come together in terrifying destruction. The journey of understanding ends with quiet worry, leaving the feeling that 2026 is just getting started, and humanity's future is hanging in those deep, dark clouds. The first week of 2026 flew by way too fast for everybody. 10 different strange things happened one after another, from tropical beaches to winter skies, from quiet land to the open ocean. You saw weird snow falling on the Hawaiian Islands, then snow covering dry deserts, swirling lights up in the sky, burning objects streaking close to the ground, and finally, a huge tornado out at sea. All of it piled up in just one short week, making it feel like the world is shifting into something totally different. Looking back at the whole chain of events, we see each sign has its own feel, but they're all tied together tight. The snow in Hawaii kicked things off with surprise. The lights in the sky sparked questions. The swirling fires made people scared, and the storm at sea felt like a climax that couldn't be stopped. You can really sense that things around you aren't running the same as before. That feeling grows with every part, like putting together a picture with pieces from all over. In the middle of all these hard-to-explain things, the Bible speaks up in several places, like a distant but powerful call. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 42, it says, "So keep watch, because you don't know what day your Lord will come." That reminder comes at the end of realizing all this, like a gentle but firm command for every worried soul. You don't have to be anywhere special to get it. Being watchful starts right in your own heart. The second letter from Peter comes across like a final judgment, confirming what's ahead. In 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 10, it says, "But the day of the Lord will come like a thief. Then the heavens will pass away with a loud noise. The elements will be destroyed by fire, and the earth and everything in it will be burned up." Those words connect straight to the swirling lights, the roaring sky, the twisting fires, and the storms we've seen. You read those old words, and it feels like they're talking about our time right now. The point hits even stronger after everything. We can't keep ignoring what's showing up. We're standing at some invisible turning point in history, where every choice and action matters a lot for our souls. You can start changing with the smallest things, like a sincere prayer or turning toward what's good. The future isn't some far-off vague thing. It's the path forming right here in the present. So, the call today comes from real care and concern. Leave a prayer or share your thoughts in the comments below so the light of faith can spread to more people. If this means something to you, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss whatever might come next. Thanks for sticking with me through this journey, and I pray for you and your family to have peace, protection, and safety through all the changes. Look up at the sky, because the next sign could come down anytime.
We're afraid that the American
they really bring out a lot of energy.
January 1st, teens under 6.
There's been protesters killed in Iran. You said we were.
Cuba is, not doing very well right now.
14-year-old son is on YouTube and Snapchat at least 2 hours a day. The middle schooler says,
Do you believe that America was prophesied by God long ago about what would happen in 2026? The signs are coming thick and fast now, like warning trumpets echoing from the past, pointing to a year full of challenges. Crises exploding, society in upheaval, politics tense, the economy up and down, weather wreaking havoc without mercy. Do you feel that fear spreading around you? And have you prepared your heart for what's ahead? It all seems to be urging us to pause, reflect, and turn back to faith. Please write a prayer in the comments below for America to have peace in the midst of the 2026 storm. Because right after this, we're going to dive deep into all the events and uncover the full truth that's been appointed for America in 2026. And I won't keep you waiting long. We'll start right away with the first major event: Christian persecution surging in Nigeria and Africa. Are we really living up to the old prophetic warnings for America in 2026? Right from the start of the year, the news hit like a bolt out of the blue, forcing us to face some troubling realities. On January 1st, 2026, the charity Church Times put out a shocking alert, saying the number of Christians killed in Nigeria could double from the year before. More than 7,000 had lost their lives in just the first 220 days of 2025. And now this wave of persecution is spreading to the North Kivu area in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the village of Katanga got hit by one attack after another. All this news isn't just some far-off story. It's ringing a clear bell for our faith today. Africa is sinking deeper into chaos over resources and religious extremism, with Nigeria, the continent's most populous country, seeing armed groups target Christian communities to grab economic and political power. Starting in 2025, hundreds have been kidnapped and forced to flee their homes, creating streams of scared refugees. International Christian Concern reported that on January 1st, 2026, in Katanga, North Kivu, about 1,200 miles from Lagos, rebels killed dozens of innocent believers, leaving behind heartbreak to start the new year. Meanwhile, in places like New York and Chicago, African-American Christian communities are protesting strongly, calling on the U.S. government to step in harder and protect their brothers and sisters. In the middle of all this troubling news, the Bible stands out like a firm light with its warnings. Matthew chapter 5, verses 10 through 12, reminds us, "Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven." God's word echoes loud and clear, saying persecution isn't the end. It's a big test of faith. Then Revelation chapter 6, verses 9 through 11, sounds like a wake-up call. "I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain because of the word of God. Wait a little longer." These verses help us see that the bigger the trial, the stronger our faithfulness needs to be. Looking through the lens of prophecy, what's happening in Africa is signaling a similar test coming for America in 2026. Faith here in the U.S. could face attacks, challenges, and upheaval from new conflicts we can't fully see yet. The Lord is warning that even a nation long seen as a stronghold of religious freedom needs to get ready for darker days. If Americans don't turn back with repentance and unite in prayer, spiritual chaos could easily break out right here at home. But the story still has a big open space waiting ahead. Will America in 2026 stand up to defend our faith, or get swept into the world's fearful currents? The future isn't fully written, and that's what draws us to keep going. Let's join together and leave prayers in the comments for America to have peace through this turbulent 2026. Because the challenges are closer than ever. Interfaith Alliance pushes for a religious forum at the G20 in 2026. A small piece of news slipped out quietly at the start of 2026, but it carried a mysterious feel to it. On January 2nd, 2026, according to Religion News Service, Cardinal Timothy Dolan and more than 80 religious leaders in the United States sent an urgent letter to President Donald Trump. The letter asked the U.S. government to add an official religious forum to the agenda of the G20 summit that America would host in Washington, D.C. It all happened pretty quietly, leaving you and a lot of folks wondering why religion was suddenly front and center in an event that's usually just about economics and politics. The background to this request really gets you thinking. 2025 saw all kinds of reports about religious freedom declining around the world, from tough restrictions in Belarus to extreme violence in Nigeria. As noted by the Diocese of Scranton, this new interfaith alliance formed to fight extremism and protect minority faith communities. Unlike the existing G20 Interfaith Forum, this effort wants a stronger voice right inside the official U.S. government setup. You can sense that deep desire for unity, trying to work its way into the halls of worldly power. Things have gotten a lot more dramatic. From New York, Cardinal Dolan is leading the push, calling for religion to be included in the G20 set for November 2026 in the nation's capital. Platforms like Threads and Facebook are spreading the alliance's message far and wide, reaching millions of believers across the states. Many U.S. political experts say this move could directly shape the G20 agenda, where leaders from 19 countries, plus the European Union, are expected to gather. We're watching two worlds, faith and politics, starting to collide in very real ways, with numbers and media pressure. International analysts see this as a soft strategy to build agreement in troubled times. They believe adding interfaith dialogue to the G20 could ease ethnic tensions and cultural conflicts in our globalized world. From a secular view, it's just smart diplomacy. But when you turn to the Bible, you're invited to see it differently, beyond everyday logic. The Bible acts like a parallel lens, not denying science, but revealing deeper, mysterious layers. The Bible plays a special role in decoding it all. Isaiah 2-4 says, "He will judge between the nations and will settle disputes for many peoples. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore." Psalm 133:1 declares, "How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity." Amos 5:24 calls out, "But let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream." These verses help us see that the call for unity in Washington, D.C. isn't just diplomatic. It's like an echo of ancient prophecies coming alive in today's America. Comparing the two views, you can feel the clear difference. The world talks strategy, while faith talks God's plan. Experts see social causes, but the Bible sees divine purposes guiding U.S. history toward 2026. That final thought lingers. We're being invited into a different awareness, where faith stands above ordinary political debates. The interfaith letter is still sitting on the desk at the White House, waiting for a decision. The G20 summit in November 2026 in Washington, D.C. is getting closer every day. The shadow of global division still looms ahead, while you and I keep watching America's journey through this unfinished prophecy. Virginia's law limiting kids' social media use. The start of 2026 brings a heavy feeling that's hard to put into words. Right on, January 1st, 2026, local news in Virginia all reported on the new law that limits how much time kids can spend on social media. Stories from Fox 5 DC and NBC Washington pointed out the rule that bans kids under 16 from using more than 1 hour a day on each platform. The worry isn't really about that plain number. It's about the bigger question of where protection ends and control begins. Looking back at 2025, Virginia was right in the middle of heated debates about teens' mental health. Governor Youngkin signed changes to the Virginia Consumer Data Protection Act, the VCDPA, and new rules under the VCDPA 2026. State leaders say social media is like an epidemic that's hurting students' focus, raising depression, and making kids feel more alone. Laws like the VCDPA were updated to give parents more power, but they also put a heavy load of responsibility on them. In Richmond, the state capital, the law officially started on January 1st, 2026. It requires parents' verified permission before kids can even create an account. According to reports on Instagram and from station WDBJ, 7 million of kids across the Northeast are directly affected. Schools, libraries, and community centers suddenly got a lot noisier as students couldn't just scroll freely anymore. Big platforms have to add timers and block access after the limit, bringing a big shift in how things work day to day. On parent forums like Facebook, Threads, and Virginia online community groups, opinions are strongly split. One side supports it, saying the law helps their kids break free from digital addiction and brings back peaceful family evenings. The other side calls it an invasion of privacy that makes kids frustrated and more likely to push back against their parents. Groups like WDBJ7 have reported many parents complaining that they now have to constantly monitor and approve each app, adding new stress to family relationships. What do you think about this law and the future for kids in the digital age? In the middle of all these arguments, the Bible stands out as a gentle reminder of our sacred duty. Proverbs 22:6 rings clear. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Those words offer a different view. It's not just about limiting minutes, but about guiding the younger generation to use their freedom wisely. Ephesians 6:4 goes on with balanced advice. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. If controlling social media doesn't come with love and understanding, any rule can backfire. Psalm 127:3 reminds us, Lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. A parent's responsibility is greater than any law on the books. From this local event, many watchers believe America is heading into a major turning point in 2026. Other states might follow Virginia's lead, starting a wave of new rules across the country. In the light of faith, we're reminded to stay alert to the digital storms challenging American families. God's word seems to foresee that America's future in 2026 will be closely tied to how we protect the young generation from modern temptations. But the story doesn't end there. Will this law become a model for the whole nation, or get replaced by something completely different? The coming days in Virginia might just be the start of a bigger cultural battle, where the line between freedom and responsibility keeps getting tested. America is changing, and we still have to wait and see what really happens next. Protests in Iran and Trump's involvement. Anger in Iran in early January 2026 spread a scary feeling across international news. Starting January 5th, 2026, the protests went on for 9 straight days, according to BBC and Reuters. The streets of Tehran were thick with smoke and chaotic shouting. The world watched the Middle East with deep worry, and it felt like that tension reached all the way to America. Iran's economy in 2025 was described as badly broken down, with skyrocketing inflation, high unemployment, and the local currency losing value fast. In Tehran, thousands of people poured into Azadi Square and main streets to protest the government. Security forces set up barriers and arrested many protesters, creating a picture of society on the edge of collapse. In Washington, D.C., President Trump kept sending strong warnings about the risk of violent crackdowns. In the middle of all that chaos, the Iranian community in Los Angeles, over 7,500 miles from Tehran, got caught up in the wave of anger too. Local California media reported gatherings in front of Iran's old consulate. Family members called home in fear, not knowing what tomorrow would bring. The Bible suddenly felt like a reminder about justice among nations in turmoil. Jeremiah 22:3 speaks out strongly against all kinds of harsh rule. This is what the Lord says: "Do what is just and right. Rescue from the hand of the oppressor the one who has been robbed. Do no wrong or violence to the foreigner, the fatherless or the widow, and do not shed innocent blood in this place." Those words weren't just for ancient Judah. They seemed to point right at what's happening in Iran today, where innocent blood could be spilled any moment. Pictures from Tehran show a country deeply divided by fear. Reuters reported many markets closed, schools shut down, and traffic almost stopped. The government tried to hold control at any cost, while people just wanted to be heard. Isaiah 1:17 comes across like another call to human conscience. Learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. In big U.S. cities like New York and Houston, human rights groups called on the government to keep a close eye on events in Iran. Trump's threats to step in if there was large-scale violence made things even more dramatic. World oil markets fluctuated over worries about supply from the Persian Gulf. Something happening halfway around the world from America could shake up politics in Washington during 2026. Looking through the light of faith, Iran's chaotic security situation seems like a test for the whole free world. The tension between Tehran and Washington, D.C. brings back memories of dark days the prophets warned about when it comes to protecting innocent people. We see clearly that power without a foundation of justice leads to downfall. That's why the Bible becomes a mirror for every nation walking through uncertainty. From this chain of international events kicking off the new year, many observers think America in 2026 is at a key moment too. To intervene or not, to listen or turn away, these are heavy choices facing the U.S. government. God's word seems to prophesy that the future of nations will turn on justice and kindness. But will Trump's decisions be enough to change things in Iran? Or will the chaos spread even more? The days ahead are still hidden in fog, waiting to clear up. U.S. attacks Venezuela, captures Maduro. On January 3, 2026, a quick military operation reported by CBS News and Brookings shook all of Latin America. More than 150 U.S. fighter jets took off, tearing across the sky over Caracas. It was big news that painted a scary picture of how power can change a country's fate in just a few hours, and we have to face that reality. From Miami, Florida, to Caracas is about 2,500 miles. But that night, the distance seemed to vanish. Squads of F-35 seconds and F-22 seconds roared in, dropping troops into the Venezuelan capital. American special forces surrounded the presidential palace, took control, and arrested Nicolas Maduro under a drug warrant from 2020. In less than 24 hours, Maduro was flown to New York for a federal court appearance. Word from the Cuban government said 32 of their citizens were killed, sparking worry all across the Caribbean. The operation was described as a lightning-fast attack, with thousands of troops involved, aircraft carriers close to the coast, and cruise missiles ready to fire. The global energy market got rattled because Caracas is a major oil hub in South America. Brookings experts said capturing Maduro would leave a huge power vacuum, raising the risk of armed fights between factions. Just one decision from Washington, D.C. could spark unrest across the continent, and the idea of world war doesn't seem so far off anymore. The Bible came up amid all the heavy military news as a warning about the sword of justice. Romans chapter 13 verse 4 says, "For he is God's servant for your good, but if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer." Those words feel like a key to understanding the big question of our time: how power and justice should go hand in hand during political chaos. Right after Maduro was arraigned in New York, big cities like Houston and Atlanta saw marches by Venezuelan immigrants. Thousands of new refugees poured across the border into Colombia, according to the International Crisis Group. The huge numbers on migration and economic losses keep piling up. The Bible spoke up again like a reminder of God's supreme rule. Isaiah chapter 21, verse 1 says, "The oracle concerning the wilderness at sea, as whirlwinds in the Negeb sweep on, it comes from the wilderness, from a terrible land." No, wait. Actually, a better fit is, "The heart of the king is a stream of water in the hand of the Lord. He turns it wherever he will." The world is looking at the White House, waiting for Trump's next move. Will this operation bring a new era of stability to Venezuela, or just start a bigger chain of conflicts? Psalm chapter 146, verse 7 stands out like a mirror for what every government should do. Who executes justice for the oppressed? Who gives food to the hungry? The Lord sets the prisoners free. But history always shows that justice never comes without a price. This military event in Caracas puts America in 2026 in a mysterious spot. Bible prophecies seem to be urging you, as leaders, to choose the path of righteousness. But after Venezuela, where will the next storm hit? Will the Americas stay calm, or will the chaos spread fast to other lands? And the next part might be even scarier than anything we've seen so far. Trump threatens Colombia, Cuba, Greenland, and other countries. On the 4th of January 2026, from Washington, D.C., President Trump sent out tough statements aimed right at Colombia, Cuba, Greenland, and several other nations, according to CNN and Axios. Those strong words rang out like war drums pounding away without stop. International news reports lit up right away, drawing the whole world into a swirl of tense uncertainty. You and I can both sense the global political air shifting every hour. After the military campaign in Venezuela, the U.S. administration announced an expansion of the cross-border war on drugs. Trump accused Colombia of not cooperating fully in controlling the transport routes. For Cuba, he predicted a chain reaction of economic and political collapse if it kept opposing the United States. As for Greenland, that territory, about 2,000 miles from America's east coast, it became the focus when Trump openly suggested annexing it to secure Arctic security interests. These remarks immediately stirred up diplomatic waves from Bogota to Havana and Copenhagen. The named countries reacted sharply. Colombia summoned the U.S. ambassador to protest, affirming its sovereignty and national honor. Cuba condemned it fiercely, saying the U.S. was looking for excuses to widen conflicts. Denmark's government, which oversees Greenland, stated that any territorial changes must follow international law. European and South American media all ran analyses saying the world was facing a new spark that could ignite a large-scale war. Many experts worry that if these threats turn into real military action, the political map in 2026 will be redrawn with violence. Amid that heat, the UN Security Council had to hold an emergency meeting in New York. A series of regional peace conferences were urgently called in Mexico City and Panama City to prevent armed confrontations. Diplomats warned that just one wrong move could trigger a chain reaction among major powers. People in many countries started stockpiling food, and financial markets plunged over fears of world war. You're living in a time when peace might be more fragile than ever before. In the midst of this political storm, the Bible appears as a guiding light on justice. Isaiah chapter 40 verse 23 says, "He brings princes to naught and reduces the rulers of this world to nothing." Those words lead many to believe that all earthly power has limits, and the arrogance of leaders will eventually face the highest judgment. Debates inside America flared up just as much. On forums in Florida, Texas, and Minnesota, some strongly supported Trump's hard stance, seeing it as protecting national interests. On the other hand, many anti-war groups in New York and San Francisco criticized it, fearing the U.S. government was pushing the world toward disaster. U.S. media polls showed nearly 48% of respondents backing diplomatic pressure, while 37% opposed any idea of using military force in neighboring countries. In that picture, questions about national responsibility and ethics keep getting dissected. Jeremiah chapter 18 verses 7 to 8 rings out like another key for human conscience. "At one moment, I might speak concerning a nation or kingdom, that I will pluck up, break down, and destroy it. But if that nation turns from its evil, I will relent and not inflict on it the disaster I had planned." The Bible offers a view totally different from modern politics, stressing repentance and inner change instead of outside violence. Since Venezuela, this string of diplomatic threats kicking off January shows that 2026 could be a year full of upheaval for America. Many Bible scholars and pastors in the southern U.S. states affirm that God is using these shifts to remind the leading nation of the free world about its duty to justice. Our children's future will depend on decisions made in those power rooms in Washington. But after all those pounding words, what will really happen to Colombia, Cuba, or Greenland? And what price will America pay? The next chapters of 2026 are still a big blank waiting to be filled. Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act aims to boost growth. Starting the first day of 2026, the tax cut package, called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, officially takes effect, bringing some of the biggest tax refunds we've ever seen. Ever wonder what you'd do if your paycheck suddenly got a lot bigger? The economy back then looked bright in some ways, but it was also full of ups and downs. On the financial news, Wall Street kept jumping with all those growth numbers. Businesses expanded their investments, folks spent more freely, and money poured into the economy, estimated in the tens of billions of dollars. GDP was expected to improve, but everyday living costs started shifting too. Many working families really felt the change in their wallets. Some were happy about it, others worried about what was coming next. In the middle of all that change, the Bible offers a gentle reminder about lasting direction. Matthew chapter 6 verse 33 says, "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." Material prosperity can come quick, but faith is the foundation that helps people stay balanced through any changes. Not everyone sees the tax cut package the same way. Strong supporters believe it's a blessing that builds national strength, opening doors for jobs and new ideas. They think raising the deduction limit to $40,400 was the right move to free up the economy. On the other hand, some opponents argue hard that it could widen the gap between rich and poor and push inflation higher. Heated debates popped up everywhere, from coffee shops and schools to Congress. What about you? Where do you stand on this? Proverbs in the Old Testament also comes up a lot when people talk about wealth. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 9 to 10 says, "Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine." Those words remind us that any gains, whether from policy or the market, should be used with gratitude and fairness. Real life in 2026 showed that economic joy didn't spread evenly. Some states benefited a lot from higher spending, but others struggled with rising costs for housing and healthcare. Experts warned about possible asset bubbles, while regular folks just hoped to keep steady jobs to support their families. Uncertainty became a common topic, leading many to look for spiritual values instead of just chasing flashy numbers. Psalm 37, verse 21 reminds us, "The righteous give generously." The economy might get a push from tax cut decisions, but kindness is the true measure of a healthy society. Faith calls us to look beyond short-term gains toward the common good. Trump's tax cut package in 2026 became a focal point of both hope and challenge. Some believe God is blessing America with a new golden era, but there are also cautious voices reminding us of responsibility and awareness. The road ahead still has plenty of unknown turns, and the big question about the future of the U.S. economy remains open, waiting for answers from everyday Americans. Stock market forecast to reach 7,500, 8,000 points. Forecasts suggest the U.S. stock market will rise strongly in 2026, pushing the S&P 500 toward the 7,500 to 8,000 point range. The gain is estimated at about 8.8 to 15.5%, thanks to better company profits and the growing wave of AI technology. Can you feel the exciting pulse of the financial markets in this historic time? Things on the trading floors aren't as calm as those positive numbers might look. At the New York Stock Exchange, the electronic boards keep changing colors hour by hour, showing how investor feelings shift in unpredictable ways. Economic reports, interest rate decisions, and geopolitical news create one wave of ups and downs after another. Experts keep a neutral tone, pointing out that growth always comes with risks. Big investment funds like CIBC or JP Morgan give positive views, but they also warn about the chance of a deep pullback if expectations get too high. The reasons for all this movement come from many balanced viewpoints. Some experts say cheap money in earlier years pushed stock prices up faster than real value. Others believe deep digital changes in the economy are opening a new era, where AI helps companies cut costs and build lasting profits. Future forecasts vary a lot. Some see a long upward cycle. Others spot risks of an asset bubble. The stock market feels like a vast ocean, shiny on the surface, but hard to read deep down. In the middle of this financial storm, the Bible comes up as a source of wisdom for smart thinking. Ecclesiastes chapter 11 verse 1 says, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for after many days you will find it again." Those words suggest investing needs patience and a long-term view, not just chasing quick profits. Proverbs chapter 10 verse 22 also reminds us, "The blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he adds no sorrow with it." Ancient prophecy advises staying alert and not letting greed guide financial choices. Analysts keep digging deeper into the temptations of profits in 2026. They note that as the S&P 500 nears record highs, excitement might make investors forget basic rules. Hot tech stocks, leveraged trades growing wider, and short-term speculation trends are common signs of an unsteady market. Still, many positive voices rely on solid data, saying company profits are truly getting stronger. The financial game goes on in a mix of hope and caution. 1 Timothy chapter 6 verses 9 to 10 warns, "Those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap." Those teachings shed light on a balanced view of the market, advising Americans to weigh opportunities against responsibility. The stock market can be a tool to build wealth, but it can also test human wisdom. Heading into the later months of 2026, the S&P 500 really approaches those forecast levels, but the path is full of twists and mysteries. Some days the market surges with bright earnings reports, other days it drops on inflation worries. Everything happens with the neutral assessments from experts. No one is sure about the road ahead. Even so, many believe this growth is part of God's bigger plan for America. The market keeps moving without stop, opening doors to the future with the hanging question, is 2026 just a short-term peak or the start of a whole new cycle for U.S. finance? Ongoing storms in California bring flooding and heavy snow. These storms are hitting hard one after another. Early in January 2026, California was all over the news like a place going through a real test. Reports from Washington to the West Coast kept mentioning this atmospheric river thing in a straightforward but kind of mysterious way. According to Politico Pro and CNN, on January 5, 2026, the snow buildup on the Sierra Nevada peaks had shot up to nearly 90% of the yearly average. A big jump that's hard to believe from the low 12% noted back on December 19, 2025. The sky was heavy and gray, with rain and wind mixing together, making folks along the coast worried about what was coming next. Are we seeing some kind of warning from nature itself? Nature's fury is sweeping through California. Up in the Sierra Nevada, around 14,000 feet high, the snow is falling thick, like a cold wall of ice. Weather systems recorded rainfall hitting up to 3 inches in just one day, measured the good old American way. The Central Valley is underwater, highways are closed off, and airports have canceled hundreds of flights. From KCRA and Investors.com, snowpack updates from popular ski spots like Lake Tahoe and Mammoth Mountain come in hour by hour. Those huge numbers on water pouring down show the unstoppable power of these storms. On phone screens, pictures of flooded homes and cars swept away leave people feeling really uneasy. In the middle of all this chaos, the Bible talks about God's power to judge. In Romans chapter 13, verse 4, it says, "For he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is the servant of God, an avenger, who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer." Some folks connect this to how God's justice might come in different ways, even through a country's wild weather changes. Jeremiah chapter 18, verses 7 and 8 also says, "If at any time I declare concerning a nation or a kingdom, that I will pluck up and break down and destroy it, and if that nation, concerning which I have spoken, turns from its evil, I will relent of the disaster that I intended to do to it." These words are quoted in a neutral tone, but they ring out like a serious judgment for the land caught up in these storms. The economy is taking a big hit. From CNBC and Brookings, these back-to-back storms early in 2026 have caused tens of billions in damage, messing up food and energy supply chains. Millions have had to leave their homes, small businesses are going under, and insurance rates are going way up. Experts say if the storms keep going, California's GDP could drop a lot in the first quarter. But all the reports stay objective, and they can't hide the growing unease. What do we think when everyday life can collapse in just a few hours of strong winds? On forums and social media, calls are going out for world peace conferences to meet urgently and stop the risk of global conflicts over resources and politics. These California storms have become a hot debate topic, but the news keeps a neutral voice. Which side will we take in this conversation? As the U.S. year 2026 started off with heavy snow and flooding, talk of purification prophecies is coming up more and more. Weather experts warn that the next waves of storms could be even worse. Will California settle down again, or will the chaos spread to other states, bringing the shadow of World War? The future is still up in the air, leaving viewers anxious for what's next. Polar vortex and stratospheric warming bring extreme cold. In mid-January 2026, weather reports across the United States suddenly turned to icy white screens. Reports from severeweather.eu said a stratospheric warming event had weakened the polar vortex, letting Arctic air spill down over the Midwest. From Chicago to Minneapolis, temperatures dropped way below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, and cities that were bustling at the start of the year suddenly felt empty. Streets froze solid, schools shut down, hospitals went into emergency mode. Doesn't it make you worry when winter gets that harsh? The cold hit hard, like an unseen attack. Central states were buried under thick white snow. Using American weather measurements, many spots got more than 20 inches of snow in just a few days. Rescue teams had to travel nearly 2,000 miles from Alaska to bring supplies to cut-off communities. Stadiums, bus stations, shopping centers, all closed. Folks couldn't even get to the grocery store for food and drinks like usual, with shelves empty because roads were paralyzed. Millions of families hunkered down at home, just waiting for help to arrive. The hardship and suffering showed plainly on people's faces in that freezing weather. In the middle of all that, the Bible rings out like a serious reminder. Psalm 147 verse 16 says, "He gives snow like wool. He scatters the frost like ashes." Those words come across neutral but full of authority, showing that nature is under God's control. Weather experts say this mid-January polar vortex breakdown was one of the biggest climate events recorded in decades. The record low temperatures and huge rescue needs leave folks uneasy about what's ahead. Blizzards paralyze America. Interstate highways got blocked. Trains stopped running. Thousands of domestic flights were canceled. According to severe weather.eu, the strong polar vortex from early in the year got completely disrupted by mid-January 2026, spreading extreme cold from north to south. Farms in Iowa and Nebraska lost winter crops because feed couldn't get to the livestock. The poorest neighborhoods had to rely fully on government aid. Revelation chapter 16 verse 21 says, "And great hailstones, about the weight of a talent, came down from heaven upon people, and people blasphemed God